All right. Well, it is 7 o'clock, so we are going to get started. Welcome everybody who is joining us tonight. This is your 7 o'clock Monday evening live recorded beginner yoga. We do this every Monday night from 7 to 8 p.m. And we also do a 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. intermediate yoga every Monday night as well. So if you are not into the beginner yoga, go ahead and check out the intermediate yoga. But yeah, so tonight we are just going to do a nice basic flexibility flow just to kind of build flexibility for beginners. And my name is Jessica. I'm going to be leading you guys through this flow, and you are watching Yoga for Beginners. So if you haven't already and you want to enjoy getting every Monday night free live yoga classes on my channel, make sure that you subscribe and hit that little bell notification button next to the subscribe button so that you can be notified when I go live. Because the more viewers I get, the easier it is for me to continue to offer live classes, and I really enjoy doing that. Especially with COVID and everything going on and people can't make it to a studio or don't want to go out and risk getting themselves sick. I really like being able to provide free classes for you. So if you like this video, if you are enjoying it, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. And it is recorded live, so there are shenanigans that unfortunately I cannot help. And tonight we are joined by my little chunky dog Lou over here, who is already acting really grumpy. So I have explained to him that there's no growling in yoga, but he seems to disagree with that tonight. So anyway, he is going to be here, and I apologize for that, but it shouldn't be too much trouble. But if for this class, you are going to need 2 yoga blocks. And if you don't have yoga blocks, you can use big sturdy books, just something that you can kind of lean on and it's going to give you support. And you're also going to need a yoga strap. And if you don't have a yoga strap, you can use anything that connects point A to point B. You can use a towel, a scarf, you can use a belt, you can use a tie, you can even use a dog's leash. And those work just as well. And then you'll also need some pillows for support. So go ahead, grab that stuff before we get started. And then we're going to actually begin on our hands and knees. So I'm going to just go ahead and take these and just place them aside. So when you have your blocks and your straps and your pillows, just make sure that they are handy. You don't want to have to go across the room to get them when you need them. So we will begin, as I said, on our hands and knees. So if you find that your knees are bony or it's really hard for you to put your knees on the ground, put your pillow underneath of your knees. If you don't have the pillow with you or it's just too much, but you still want some support for your knees, you're going to take your mat and just make a little fold, and you're just going to place your knees on the fold. And that's going to give you some support. So also too, before we get started, let me just grab this really quick and show you guys. Something I always recommend for beginners to yoga is a foam yoga wedge. This wedge is really good just to protect your wrists. And I always have one on hand for my newbies that come in, because a lot of times when you're starting yoga, your wrists get sore. And that's just because we're not used to putting all of the body weight on our hands that we do in yoga. So this is a really good thing to have. I am going to link these items in the description after this video is recorded live. So by tomorrow, I link them to Amazon. I just buy these all on Amazon. They're super cheap. And if you guys do buy them on Amazon, use the link that I put in there, because I get something from Amazon. If you buy them through me, they don't cost any extra. It's just the link to that. So I always appreciate that. So I'm going to put that aside. And if you don't have one of those yoga foam wedges, you can just use your pillow, or you can use your knuckles, or you can just come down onto your elbows. So I know for a lot of us, it's hard to put the weight on our hands. So we'll start off on our hands and knees. You want to, every time you place your hands on the ground, engage what's called Hasta Bandha. And I refer back to this a lot throughout our practice. Hasta Bandha means hand seal, and this is how you want to place your hands on the ground. Your hands are always spread out wide, so you never want to have your hands small and closed like this. You want to have your fingers out wide every single time you place your hands on the ground. It's like the difference between wearing a really wobbly high heel with a narrow heel and a narrow toe versus wearing a wide-soled sneaker that gives you a lot of support. So you want to have your hands on the ground. Your fingers are your braking system. So as you come forward, you grip with your fingertips, and these are going to help you just provide stability. So let's start off here by just taking a few cat-cows. So I want you to inhale as you arch your back and look up toward the sky. Lift your tailbone. Really just linger here for a second. Just feel the stretch in the belly. And then exhale as you round your spine. Tuck your chin to your chest. Tuck your tailbone under. Really stretch away from the floor. And that's cat pose. So inhale, cow pose. Exhale to cat pose. And we'll just do this a few times. I always just like to loosen up the spine here. So I wanted to do a class tonight on really beginner flexibility because a lot of people are hesitant to do yoga because they're not flexible. But most of us are not flexible. There's two types of people. There's people that are really flexible and enjoy stretching, and then there's people who are not flexible and enjoy more of the strength building poses and the kind of free movement. So the people who are not flexible are the ones that are the first to say, oh, I can't touch my toes, so I'm not doing yoga. But you'll build the flexibility in the yoga class, so you don't have to be able to touch your toes to do yoga. Good. So we're going to come back to a nice flat back, hands on the ground. Now remember, you can come down to your elbows if you need to. And we're going to just bring the right knee in towards the right shoulder, right elbow. You can take the knee out wide, and then we're going to bring it back, and then bring it in, and bring it back. Now let's add some circles to that. We're just lubricating the hip joint. And then go back the other direction. Remember, you can also be on your knuckles here, or on a fist, I should say. Good. All right, and we'll take that knee, bring it down, and do the same thing with the other leg. We're going to bring the knee out wide and bring it to the left shoulder, and then bring it back, bring it to the left shoulder, bring it back, and then we'll start making our circles. Breathing as you go. So everything we do in yoga is coordinated with the breath. Take a nice deep inhale and a full exhale. Let's go the other direction. Deep inhale, full exhale. Bringing awareness to your breath is what separates yoga from any other fitness style. Good, and then let's bring the knee down. All right, we're going to bring the hands just about a hair forward, and we're going to do what's called sunbirds. So sunbirds are a really nice way to start to build upper body strength. So you're going to take the right leg, lift it up, and come forward, and knee into chest. Inhale, bend the elbows, leg comes up. Exhale, bring it back. So you see how you really have to use your fingers here. Inhale, bring it forward and back. Now, if you're on your elbows, it's just going to look like this. One more time on the right side, and then bring it back. And this is just building your upper body strength. So let's take the left leg, bring it up as you come forward. Maybe you even come down, kiss the mat, and bring it up. Inhale, come forward, and bring it up. Inhale, forward. Bring it up. We're going to go 3 more times, guys. I know you got it. 1, 2, and you go down as far as you want. There's no prize down there, so you don't have to go all the way down. And back. Great. Now we're going to come into a child's pose. So we'll take the knees out wide. And if it's hard to come and sit down all the way onto your hips, you're going to take a pillow or a couple pillows and just prop yourself up. You can even take a block or another pillow or your books and place them underneath of your head. So the more you've got underneath of your hips, the easier it is to bend your knees here. And the more you've got underneath of your head, the easier it is to fold forward. So just go ahead and see what works for you. Arms can be forward, or your arms can be down by your sides. This is a resting pose, so I want you just to do just that. I want you to rest here. So I'm turning my head to the side. If that feels good to you, go ahead and do that. Now, if you're not using props, it's just going to look like this. Knees can be out wide. And we're going to come back onto our hands and knees. And then you're going to take your right arm and slide it underneath of the left side of the body, turning the right cheek to the floor, and just leave your left hand on the ground. So your left elbow is bent 90 degrees. You're just resting here. Now, the tendency here is to have your hips sway over to the left. So I want you to really press your left knee into the ground. And that's going to kind of shift your hips back over to the right and just even out, level off your hips. So anytime we're twisting, we twist from the navel up. Our lower back stays pretty still. We don't really want to twist our lower vertebrae. We just want to keep that up higher in our spine. Good, and then inhale, start to press up, and we're gonna extend the right arm up toward the sky, look up, and then place the hand down on the ground. We'll do the same thing on the left side. So we're gonna slide the left arm underneath the right side of the body. Right hand is gonna stay on the ground, the right elbow is going to remain bent 90 degrees. So again, the hips' natural tendency is to shift over to the left. So I want you to press the left knee into the ground. And that just kind of levels your hips out. And just breathe here. Good, one more breath in. And then we'll inhale, extend the left arm up toward the sky. Exhale, bring the hand down to the ground. And we're gonna come into our downward facing dog. So you're gonna walk your hands forward just a couple inches, tuck your toes under, press back, and then lift the hips up as you reach the heels toward the ground. Now the heels may not touch the floor, and that's okay. I want your your entire back to be straight here. I want one straight line from your hands all the way up to your hips. Now, if that makes your knees bend here and your heels come up, that's okay. You can even put those blocks underneath of your heels for a little bit of support. This pose is about having a long, straight spine. And then once that's able to happen, then we can stretch into the hamstrings. So if you find that you're doing one of these in this pose, you want to bend your knees and stick your butt up. So channel your inner Kardashian, stick your butt way out. Take a breath in here. Good. And then we're going to look forward and start to walk the feet up to the front of the mat and just come up here however you get here. Bend your knees. And if your hands can't touch the ground, if you find that you're doing this kind of thing, You want to take your blocks and place your hands on your blocks. You can even take a chair and place your hands on a chair. What I want for you here is to have a straight spine. So I want you to think, now you stay here, but I want you to think about this pose, your cow pose, and how your butt was sticking out, your hips were sticking up when you were in this pose. That is the same position. I want your tailbone, I want your hips in this pose. So I know the tendency would be to round the spine and kind of tuck the tailbone here, but that's the opposite of what we want to do. We want to lift the hips, bend the knees, and stick your butt out. This is going to create deeper flexibility quicker, and it's safer for your back. Rounding your back like this is detrimental to your vertebrae. So it's one of the worst things that you can do for your body. So bend your knees and stick your butt up. Let your head drop. Feet are hip width distance apart, so your feet don't have to be touching here. All right, so if you've got your hands on blocks, that's great. Keep them on blocks. Make sure they're a little bit wider apart here. And if you don't, hands are just going to be on the ground, or you can grab opposite elbows. And we're just going to sway side to side. Now, if you want to have your feet open a little bit wider, go ahead and do that for a little bit more stability. But I want you to feel like you are just moving your upper body in a semicircle. So your hips are going to remain still. So in other words, I don't want you twisting like this, because then we start to twist our knees. So we're just moving from our hips up. Yoga is all about just figuring out where you are today, physically, emotionally, and letting your practice meet you there so that you can grow from that point. Come back to center, and then we're going to bring our hands to our shins. Keep your tailbone sticking up. Walk your hands up. Belly is in nice and tight. You come up with a nice flat back. Reach your arms up overhead. Bring your palms together. And then exhale as you bring your hands together in front of your heart. Good. So this is our mountain pose. We're going to bring our arms down by our sides. Stand tall. Pull the belly in. Good. So here I want you to kind of rock back and forth on your feet. And then find that central point. Find halfway, not forward, not back. Close your eyes here and lift all 10 toes off of the ground. Spread the toes out nice and wide, and then set them back down gently. Now I want you to visualize underneath the ball of the big toes, the ball of the pinky toe, and the center of the back of the heel. This triangular shape is called Pada Bandha. That's our foot lock, our foot seal. So whenever your feet are on the ground, I want you to think of that. So that's going to help you immensely with your balance poses. So Pada Bandha, just like we had Hasta Bandha, hand seal, we have Pada Bandha, foot seal. All right, so we're going to keep that foot seal with our left foot, but we're going to take our right foot and bring it way back here. So we're coming into a lunge, and there's a couple different elements to this part, to this pose. So there's the element of flexibility, and there's also the element of balance. So if you've got any type of sciatic issues in your right hip, or if you've got any SI joint issues in your right hip, please drop down to your back knee. This is going to keep that hip safe. So when you're down on your back knee, this is going to give you more of the flexibility aspect of this pose without having to worry about the balance. So sometimes I like to be down here just to get more flexible. Today, I'm going to work on my balance, so I'm just going to come up here. And I want to bring my hands together in front of the heart. So whether your knee is on the ground or your knee is lifted, hands are in front of the heart. And then we're going to start to raise the hands up. And if you can, bring the elbows toward one another as you lift the chin. Good. Bring the hands up, pull the belly in, tuck the tailbone here. So I want you to really feel like you're squeezing your right butt cheek really nice and tight here. And then also squeeze your left butt cheek as well. So this is going to stabilize your hips and give you a little bit more space for flexibility. Great. Exhale, bring your hands back to your heart. And then we're going to take the right hand down to the inside of the right foot. And you're going to place your left hand on your left knee. And you're going to start to look up toward the sky. So we're just doing a nice little twist to the left. So keep squeezing this left hip, or sorry, this right hip. So you want to keep this right butt cheek nice and firm so that it doesn't drop down. So you want to keep it kind of lifted. So if you want your left hand to remain on your left knee, you can do that, or reach it up toward the sky. Now, if you're already at a point where you're struggling to breathe and you're like, when the hell are we getting out of this pose? You need to drop down to your back knee. And you know who I'm talking to. So this pose is about flexibility. So we want to really just breathe in deeply, exhale fully. Good. And then we're going to lift that back knee. Bring your hands to the ground. Good. And then slowly start to step your back foot forward when we come back into our forward fold. Look forward. Bring the arms out wide. Lift the chin. Come up with a flat back. Rise all the way up to stand. And then bring your hands to your heart. Nice. So we're going to engage the Pada Bandha now in the right foot as you step the left foot back. So again, you can have this left knee lifted, or you can have the left knee on the ground. Figure out which part of this pose you want. This isn't a contest. This isn't oh, I bet I can do this. I'm going to do this today. Do whatever allows you to have a nice full inhale and a nice full exhale, because then you know you're not hurting any part of the body. All right, so I'm going to try to stabilize myself here, and then I'm going to bring my hands to my heart and start to lift my arms up, even bringing my elbows toward one another. I'm just kind of wrapping my shoulders forward here, and lift the chin. Pull the belly in, tuck the tailbone, squeeze the left butt cheek nice and tight, and then squeeze the right butt cheek to match it. You don't want to have one big firm butt cheek and then a loose other butt cheek. Take another breath in here. And then exhale as you slowly start to come down. We're going to take the left hand to the mat. Right hand is going to come onto the right thigh. And again, drop down to that back knee if you want to. And if you want to stay here, or reach the right arm high, gazing up toward the ceiling. How you guys doing? Feeling good? Excellent. Let's take that hand down, bring the hand to the floor, look forward, and step the back foot forward. Give your legs a little shimmy here in your forward fold. Grab opposite elbows, bend the knees. All right, and then we're going to bring the feet together and bend the knees, bring the hands to the heart. Coming into a modified chair pose. So we're going to just sit here for a minute, squeezing the thighs together. Look down, make sure that you can see your toes. If you can't see your toes, shift yourself back in space. And then come all the way up to stand. Great. Now, we're going to grab our strap or leash or whatever it is that you have to bring point A to point B. Now, there's two ways to do this. I'm going to show you guys to interlace the hands together behind the back. You're going to bring the palms together. Now, if it feels like you have to do this to have the palms separated in order to clasp your hands together, I want you to grab the strap and then use the palms toward each other. So your hands can be pretty far apart back here, but I want you to pull the palms toward each other. So we are going to just start off in our mountain pose with our hands together on our strap. Pull the belly in, lift the heart up toward the ceiling, and breathe. Squeeze the shoulders down the back. Really feel like you're lifting your chest up toward the sky. Then come back to center. We're coming back into chair pose here. our hands are going to be interlaced behind our back, or we're going to have the strap. So I'm actually going to lose the strap because it's less comfortable for me with that. So squeeze the shoulder blades together. Good. Arch the back, look up toward the sky. And then we're going to fold forward, bringing the hands up and over the head. Bend the knees here, separate the feet for stability. And remember, go as far as your body says you can with your breath. If you're really pushing yourself or you're really struggling to breathe, back out of the pose a little bit. Don't be a hero. Good. And we're just going to go back and forth. Good. Start to lift the head and shake the arms out. Nice job. All right. So we're going to come into a few wide-legged poses. So we're going to root down into our left foot, and you're going to take your right foot back behind you. Turn the feet out wide. Now, if you have sciatic issues, turn the toes out 45 degrees. If not, pigeon toe the feet inward. And we're just going to come into a simple wide-legged fold. Now, this is the same as our forward fold that we were doing up at the front of the mat. So if you need your blocks, use your blocks. If your back, I'm going to show you from the side, if your back is rounded like this and you're struggling to reach down here, bend the knees, stick the butt out, and make your spine go straight. If it's really, really hard to do that, grab a chair and place your hands on a chair in front of you. I'm really, really serious when I tell you that having your back rounded like that is really, really a bad thing for your spine. It can cause a lot of damage, so you don't want to do that. So you want to have your back nice and straight as you fold forward, and just let your head drop. So you can even bring the weight forward into your toe mounds and then back. Bring it forward and back. So I'm going to come back to this direction. So like I said, there's two types of people in yoga. There's the type of people who are naturally flexible, and then there's the type of people who are naturally strong. So the people who are naturally strong are cursing me right now. The people who are naturally flexible are the ones that are going, oh, this feels nice. I am not strong. I fall into the flexible and not strong category. So I really could stay in this pose all day. So I have to remind myself that other people don't quite enjoy it as much. So I won't keep you here very, very long. But yeah, strong people, they can do all of the arm balances, all of the, just the strength building poses that, us flexible people struggle with. One's not better than the other. We're just different. That's what makes us awesome. Bend the knees, bring the hands to your hips, and then we're going to turn the toes out if they weren't already. So we're going to come up to our upper body is upright, and we're just going to bring our hands to our inner thighs. So you can press your hands into the thighs and just start to kind of lean forward. Maybe go side to side here. This feels really good. And then drop one shoulder and then the other. Just breathing with each movement. Come back to center, straighten the legs, heel toe the feet together, and give them a good shake. All right, so now we're facing the side of the mat, and we're just going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it from the side of the mat. So we're going to take our hands to our hips and just step the feet out nice and wide. So I just wanted to give you a nice little break for your hips. So we're going to turn to face that way. So for me, it's turning my left foot, but for you, it's probably turning your right foot. So your foot that's on this side, probably your right foot, you're going to turn those toes to face the short side of your mat. Your back toes are facing the long side of the mat. So not towards the edge or towards the front edge, towards the side. So they are turned out 90 degrees. Bend into the right knee. Make sure that this knee doesn't go over the ankle. So keep it so it's stacked right over, knee over top of the ankle. Your hips are going to be nice and square, so you don't want to be leaning forward or leaning back. Crown of the head directly over top of the hips. You take your arms out wide. Look over those front fingers. And this is our warrior two pose. You can remember warrior two because your arms are out in two directions. We're just going to breathe here. Squeeze the left glute muscle and squeeze the right glute muscle. So the more you do that, the more it's going to open up these inner thigh muscles and give you flexibility. Good. Straighten that front leg, and we're going to switch. So we're turning the front toes to face the side, and now we're going to turn those back toes to face the short side of the mat. Bend the opposite knee, and make sure that the crown of the head is directly over top of the hips as we come into our warrior two on this side. Looking over the front middle finger, breathing. Now, every pose has what we call drishti, which means focal point, and that just means where you're directing your energy and where you're looking. So your drishti here is over top of your front middle finger. Try to set it into a very, very small point right at the fingertip. Good. Straighten the front leg, bring your hands to your hips, rotate the feet in. Great. Okay, so now we're going to come back to this side. So you're going to turn your opposite toes forward. So for me, it's my left. For you, it's probably your right. You're going to straighten your legs, and we're going to come into our triangle pose. This is a tricky pose for a lot of people. So if you're very inflexible, bring your feet in a little bit closer. Kick your hips out to the side and take your front hand to the front thigh. You want to not round like this. You want to keep your spine straight. So from here to here, your spine is in a straight line like this. It's not rounded like this. So if that means that you are just right here, that's fine. This is where you need to be. You're going to go to wherever it is that you feel a stretch here and a stretch here. If you're down here and you're kind of leaning forward, there's nothing happening in this pose. You literally will get no benefit from it. So you want to stay here, up as high as possible. Take the top arm and reach it straight up toward the sky. Now, if I'm looking at you from the front, it should look like this. It should be arms are stacked. They're in one long line. You don't want to have your top arm reaching forward like that or your butt sticking out. Okay, so that's the first aspect of this pose. Now, as you start to gain more flexibility, you keep the spine straight, and then you bring your bottom hand down toward the floor as you look up toward the sky. So this takes a while to get to, guys. Don't rush to be down here. Be up here so your body knows to open up. See, what happens when we're doing yoga poses, they're very precise. The movements, the shapes that we make are very precise for alignment. When we reach certain alignment with our body, the body and the brain start to talk to each other. And the body sends the brain signals saying that we're stretching, go ahead and open the muscle. And then the brain sends information to the neurons to open the muscle. But if we are stretching and pushing and pulling beyond our body's ability, our brain gets signals from the muscles that say, stop the stretch, shut down. So we're actually doing less for our body than we would if we just backed up a little bit out of the pose and really followed our alignment. Good, so let's come up. All right, and we're gonna switch sides. So now, my right toes are gonna turn to the front. Probably your left toes are turning to the front. And my back toes, my left toes, are gonna turn to face the side of the mat. Kick the hips out wide. Tuck the tailbone underneath of you. Straighten the spine as you bring the bottom hand down onto the bottom leg for support. Top arm is going to go straight up. You want one line from fingertip to fingertip. Now, if you feel good and you can come down, hand to the floor or hand to the ankle, do that. But if that's making you kind of lean forward and stick your butt out, then come back up here. This is where you need to be. So doing this pose correctly, you should feel tension here because you're squeezing these muscles together. So it's like you're doing an oblique crunch here. You're lifting the upper half of your torso. And then gaze up toward the ceiling. So unless you've got some neck issues, then you can look down. But we always want to follow proper alignment so the body starts to open up instead of lock up. Because that's a real pain in the ass when the muscles just start to lock up on you and you're like, why am I not getting more flexible? And then we'll start to come up. Great. Heel toe the feet together and shake them out. Whew. Okay. So now we're going to come into our warrior one pose. So let's start from the front of the mat. Bring your feet hip width distance apart. You're going to connect this right foot with your pada bandha. And then you're going to take your left foot and bring it back about 2 to 3 feet. Doesn't have to be a big, huge step back. Bend this front knee so that the knee is directly over top of the ankle. Back heel remains pressed into the ground. Now your back toes, you don't want them out. You see how my back toes are turned out to the side? You don't want that. You want your back toes to be at a 45-degree angle. It's very, very precise. Your front toes are going to be pointing to the front corner of the mat. Sorry, your back toes are pointing to the front corner of the mat. Front toes are pointing forward. Pull the belly in. Squeeze the glutes. There's no arch in the back here. Keep the back straight and reach your arms straight up toward the sky. And just breathe. Your gaze, your drishti, is forward. Good job. Now straighten that front leg and grab your strap. So we're going to come into pyramid pose. So same thing, if your hands don't interlace behind your back all the way with the palms together, grab onto your strap, roll your shoulders down and back, pull the belly in, and we're just going to fold halfway here. So front leg stays straight. If this front knee starts to bend, straighten it and lift the upper body. Now you want to feel a stretch in the back of this thigh. If your knee is bent, you may still feel the stretch in the back of the thigh, but it's going to round the spine, again, putting your vertebrae at risk. So you're squeezing your arms behind you and keep your chest lifted. Hi, Lou. What are you doing? Hi. You doing yoga with mommy? That's awesome. You're a good boy. Yeah. All right, come on up, bring your hands to your hips, roll your shoulders out, and step your back foot forward. Okay, we're gonna do the same thing on the other side. So root down, find your pada bandha with your left leg, and step your right foot back. Bend your left knee, and we're finding our warrior one with the left leg forward. Now we take our arms up toward the sky. So remember warrior two, you had your arms out in 2 directions. 1, 2, warrior 2. In warrior 1, your arms are in one direction. They're both reaching up. So this is your warrior 1. Back toes are out on a 45-degree angle and the front toes are facing forward. So there you have the difference between warrior 1 and warrior 2. So now you'll never forget, right? Good. Straighten the front leg. And then you're going to grab your strap if you need it. And if you don't need it, you're just going to interlace your hands behind your back. Straighten the front leg. I already said that, but it's worth repeating. And then you're going to fold halfway. Okay. Now, if you can fold a little bit further without rounding your back here, then you can do that. But this is about my limit here before my back starts to round. You're going to look straight down past your front foot. come on up to stand. Very nice. Shake your arms out. Step your back foot forward. Woo. Shake your legs. Okay. I'm going to come into, actually we're going to come down onto the floor. So you can take your strap and move it out of the way. Now, if you have trouble sitting, so this is a really hard pose for a lot of people. If you find you're up here, your back is rounded, this is really bad for your back. So basically, anytime you're rounding your spine like this spells danger for your vertebrae. So you want to lift your butt up. So if you have a pillow, sit on a pillow. If you want to sit up against a wall, sit up against a wall. That's going to give you stability and help you to just take away any of the stress in the upper body. So if this still isn't enough and you still want to sit up a little bit higher, sit up a little bit higher. Get yourself to a spot where you have a nice straight back before you move forward into any pose that we do. So if you're sitting up against a wall, I'm going to just show you what that's going to be like. You're just going to sit here and you're going to allow the wall to take any of the stress out of the upper body. Your butt doesn't have to be against the wall. I just want your back to be nice and straight. So you pick wherever you want to sit where you have a straight back. Really, really, really does make a huge difference. Okay, so tossing all of my props to the side, we are going to just sit in easy pose. So easy pose, not so easy, right? Unless your hips are really flexible. So now that we're here, we're going to just take our right hand, bring it to the outside of the left thigh as you look over the left shoulder. Now, if you're against the wall, obviously your left hand is butted right up against the wall. But if you're not, maybe you can bring that hand behind you. If you feel like you're sitting way back like this, put something underneath of your back hand. You want to be up nice and tall. And we twist. So here, I want you to feel like you're kind of pushing your right hip back in opposition to this twist. But lift up through the spine, nice and tall, like somebody's got a rope attached to the crown of the head and they're pulling it up. And breathe. Very nice. Come back through center and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to take the left hand and bring it to the outside of the right knee and look over the right shoulder. Nice. Come back through center. Good. And now we're just going to do a little forward fold here. And if when you fold forward, you start to round through the spine, just stay up here. There's no sense in folding forward if the body does not want you to go in that direction. So flat back here, and you start to walk your hands forward. Again, if you're right here, I'm going to show you from the side. So everywhere you go, I want your back to be flat. Flat, flat, flat. Flat as a pancake. So this is about my limit. Maybe you can even come down onto your elbows, just like you're reading a book, just chilling out. So when you do this, you're going to start to feel it in your upper back. It's different than a stretch. You're going to feel your muscles strengthening. So you may be a little bit sore tomorrow. If you find yourself hunching forward a lot, this is really going to create some stability back there, and your body is going to be like, what the heck? But in a good way, I promise. All right, start to walk your hands back up. All right, and we're going to just take the legs out wide. Okay, so this is our Upavista Konasana. Our seated wide-legged forward fold. Okay, so against the wall or lift it up, whatever gives you a straight back. If you want to place your hands behind your hips, you can do that. That'll lift your spine up a little bit more and help you just to create some length and stability in the hips. If this feels good and you want to go a little bit further forward, you got your toes pointed up, maybe you bring the chest forward, not the chin, or not rounding the back. Bring the chest forward like you're pulling it to the wall in front of you, and maybe just bring your hands out in front of you. Keep your back flat. Now, a little tip here is to just kind of move side to side. This is going to start to create some flexibility in the hips because it's moving all four corners of each of the muscles. So I like to think of these muscles in the inner thighs as like those big long Laffy Taffies that you used to get. I mean, you probably still can get them, but I don't buy them anymore because I'm a grown up. But, you know, if you're holding one of those and you're stretching it, just stretching it out that way, it's going to break in the middle. But if you kind of stretch the ends, stretch the corners, it just stretches a little bit more. So anyway, that's how I like to think of the inner thighs. And once you do that, you can kind of find a little bit more flexibility and space there. And look at that, fold forward a little bit deeper. So just relax here, breathe, and just be okay with where your body is today. So I like to hold poses, these kind of flexibility poses, for at least 30 seconds. They say that holding poses for 30 seconds is optimal for flexibility. Your body starts to actually, your muscles change when you hold something for 30 seconds. And one thing that I like to say too is that, you know, a lot of people come to yoga and compare themselves to others in yoga. They say, you know, look at that person, they're flexible, or they can do this, you know, handstand or headstand or whatever. But, you know, it's not that they're more advanced. It's that they're at a different place in their practice. So imagine, if you will, if there are three people climbing up a mountain and one person starts 30 days ago, one person started a week ago, and the third person started a day ago. They're all going to be at different points up the mountain. It doesn't mean the person that started 30 days ago is better than the person that started a week ago or that started a day ago. It just means that they are on a different place in their journey up that mountain. They're all going to head up to the same place. They're all going to face challenges along the way, but it does not mean that one is better than the other. So when you're coming to yoga, don't think of yourself as, oh, I'm not good at yoga, I can't touch my toes. Just think of yourself as, this is where I am in my journey. Everybody has to start somewhere, right? All right, start to come back up. Ooh, all right, let's bring those legs together. They're probably stiff, they're probably fighting you. Give them a little shake. That is a tough pose to hold for a long time. So those strength people are cursing me out right now, but the flexibility people are probably like, okay. Notice I didn't do really any of the strength poses today. All right, so we'll do one right now. We're going to come into boat pose. This is a little abdominal strengthener. You can start off with your toes on the ground or your feet on the ground and your hands underneath of your knees. And guess what? You don't want to round your back here. Just like everything else, you want your back nice and straight. So if you start to lift your feet up off of the ground and your back starts to round, bring the feet back down. This is the second modification. This is the third modification. See what happened to my back right there? I started to round. So I'm going to bend my knees. So you can also choose to keep your hands here, or you can keep your hands here. Or if you're really, really strong, you can just do this. This sucks. I hate this. So I'm not going to do that. My strength people are probably like, oh, I can do this. This is great. But I'm not. My flexibility people are cursing me right now. Hold it here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Bring the feet down and roll down onto your back. Give your knees a nice little squeeze. All right, and then you're gonna take your left foot on the ground, take your right ankle, place it on top of your on top of your left thigh. So you can stay here gently pushing this right knee away, or you can lift this left leg off the ground, reach the hands in between your leg and grab onto the shin or the thigh. Oh, I guess I just lost the bottom half of my mat. Okay. Just pull the legs towards you. You can push the right knee away with your elbow if you want to, or you can just kind of let it hang out here. Another option is you can straighten this top leg. So there's lots of, what's the word I'm looking for? Aspects to this pose. There's flexibility of the hamstring. There's flexibility of the right outer thigh. Now, taking the top leg up like this takes away from the flexibility of the outer thigh. So I'm just going to bend my bottom knee so I can continue to work on the flexibility of this outer thigh. And that will give me that. Yeah, I guess move your feet, lose your seat, right, Lou? It's hard having a dog on the mat and not petting it. So, but I'm doing that for you guys. I'm making that sacrifice. All right, let's bring the left foot down to the ground. Take the right foot, place it on the ground too. I am going to need the rest of my mat, Lou, eventually. And we're going to just do the other side. So you're going to take your left ankle, place it on the top of the right thigh. And if you want to keep your right foot on the ground, go ahead and do that, or you can lift it up and do whatever you did on the other side. Just find that space that you want to be in and just chill there for a few minutes. Just enjoy it and smile and just be happy that we're not doing that ab strengthening boat pose anymore, right? Lou, what are you doing over there, bud? Stop. I don't know what you're doing, but you're making weird noises. Oh my gosh. Stop licking my foot. Oh my gosh, I can't with him. All right, and let's go ahead and replace both feet on the ground. And we're just going to start to make our way in towards Shavasana. So Shavasana we do at the end of every single class by just relaxing onto the ground. Now, if it really is uncomfortable for you to lie flat on the mat, take a pillow or your blocks or your books and place them underneath of your knee. You can put a pillow underneath of your head or underneath of your lower back, wherever that is. Wherever you want to have some support to be comfortable, go ahead and do that. But we find our Shavasana is a pose that gives us stillness. So you want to find any place that you're not going to be moving around. And maybe a dog wants to sit on your hand. That is always fun too. So we're going to just do a nice meditation for a few minutes before we actually sink into Shavasana. So close your eyes and just start to bring awareness into your body. Start to really feel the connection between your back and the mat. Feel the connection between the top of your body and the air on your skin. Start to feel the clothes that you're wearing. And notice the sensations of the breath moving in and out of your nose. Follow the breath from the nostrils up into your sinuses and then down into your lungs. Start to bring more focus and awareness to the exhale as you press the breath out of the lungs, emptying completely. Bring the awareness back in through your nose. Feel the breath, fill the lungs completely, and then feel yourself empty the lungs all the way. Notice the effect the emptying of the lungs has on your body. Now start to take notice of any emotions that start to arise as you're lying still. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel frustrated. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel grief. Allow yourself to feel whatever is coming up. And the point of meditation is not to stop feeling, it's to acknowledge the feeling, release it, and come back to neutral. So if you start to cry, if you start to bawl, allow it. Allow it and then just let it go. You can always come back to this meditation later. But allow yourself to feel. And as you start to feel emotions, notice what that feels like in your body. Notice if it's anxious, if it's worrisome, fearful, aggravated, annoyed. Notice why those feelings are coming up, why they are calling for your attention, and how they're calling for your attention. Fear lives in our belly, so you may feel kind of nauseous with fear. Heartache lives in our chest and in our back and in our shoulders. Notice if they're rounding, if they're feeling tense. Guilt and shame lives in our hips. Anger lives there. Past regrets. When we feel that we can't forgive someone, it lives in the tissues and the hips, the anger that we hold on to. If we're feeling fears of the past, we're feeling emotions of the past, things that we can't let go of, grudges, they live in our legs. They live in our feet and in our knees, in our thighs and our calves. So just notice where the emotions are leading you physically. Notice if there's a correlation between the two. You can even place a hand on wherever that feeling is. Maybe on your back, on your neck, on your leg. You can move yourself to do that. Imagine that touch, that hand is just a loving touch to let that feeling go, to acknowledge it, and just let it pass. Release it on the exhale. You may not let go of that feeling during this one meditation. You may have to do this over and over and over. But one day it will just be gone, leaving peace. Take a deep breath in, a final big exhale. And as we start to settle into our stillness of Shavasana, come to find that place that brings you peace and relax. Close your eyes if they're not closed already, and just settle into this space. It will be quiet, and I'll bring you out in about 3 minutes. So just enjoy the peace. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, bringing awareness slowly back into your body, bit by bit, rolling your ankles and wrists. Take your arms and stretch them overhead, giving yourself a nice full body stretch like you're just waking up. And then bring your knees into your chest, rolling over onto your right side. Coming into fetal pose. We always come to fetal pose after Shavasana because our fetal pose is a rebirth. Shavasana is death, letting go of what we no longer need so that we can be reborn fresh and new. Start to press yourself up to a comfortable seated position, whatever that is to you, and bring your hands together in front of your heart as we bow our heads in a gesture to remind us of the connection between mind and body. Please go from here tonight with peace and inner strength. I honor the place in you where the entire universe resides. I honor the place in you of love, of light, of peace, of truth. When you are in that place in you and I am in that place in me, we are one. Namaste. Thank you all for joining me tonight and sharing your practice with me. All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. I really, really am so grateful for you being here. And again, if you like this video, make sure that you give it a thumbs up. It really does help me. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. Every subscribe helps, and every subscribe that I get helps me to give you guys free classes. So I will see you guys on your mat next Monday at 7 p.m. Thanks. Have a good night.